Today, I want to discuss a concept that happens in every single American English sentence that you say. In fact, it happens typically multiple times. So, we want to make sure that we're kind of getting it right if we want to be the most effective that we can when we speak in English. Good morning, guys. Good evening. Good afternoon. Welcome to your daily American English pronunciation show, which is Wake Up American. We are here Monday through Friday, typically between the hours of around 7 to 8 a.m. New York, to make sure that you can get in your 5 to 10 minutes of pronunciation practice for today because, hey, that's what it takes. If you are serious about trying to have significant change in your pronunciation, then these are the things that we want to be doing, showing up for ourselves every day. I'll do it for you. If you can do it for you too. When I say I, my name is Jeff. It rhymes with breath. That's one of the four keys to a natural sound in American English pronunciation, including placement, pitch, breath. Trying to weaken your consonant sounds and strengthen your vowel sounds. Speaking of pitch, that's going to be something that we're kind of talking about today because we are going to be focusing on stress. What words to stress in American English, giving you the basics, things that you want to be considering. So, we've talked in the past about how English is a stress timed language. When we're talking about stress, what that means is there are going to be some places in our sentence where words are going to receive just a tiny bit more emphasis than others. And in American English, we show that by raising the pitch a little bit. So, for instance, if we have a little short sentence like "I eat cake," cake would typically get the stress there. I eat cake. You can tell it's the stress because I eat. You can hear the pitch movement down, and then when I get to cake, I go up a little bit in pitch compared to eat. I eat cake. I eat cake. I eat cake. I eat cake. In the sentence, how are you? Same idea. How are you? I'm stressing you in that case. How are you? How are you? But I could also stress R, right? If I stressed R, it would sound like, how are you? How are you? Can you hear a difference between how are you, stress on you, and how are you, stress on R? So again, the way we're demonstrating stress is we are just going up slightly in pitch. Now, the question then becomes, what words do we put stress on? And I do have to say that everything I am about to tell you doesn't actually happen in real life because in real life there is context. There are situations that we're in. We are talking about very specific things. So everything I'm about to tell you doesn't necessarily happen. But it's still good information to know because it gives you a basic idea of what English is looking for. Okay. So English usually wants to stress content words. Content words are words like nouns, adjectives, adverbs, and things like that. Okay, so when we want to think of like content words, what are adjectives? Adjectives are words like tall, fast, red. Those are examples of adjectives. Adverbs are words like well, quickly. Um, what's another? Slowly. Those would be examples of adverbs, describing verbs or sentences or adjectives. Also, words like very would be an adverb. We can also stress nouns. So, nouns are words like cat, book, love. Those are examples of nouns. Words like that. These are words that very commonly receive stress. You can also throw in verbs in there. Verbs are actions. So, for instance, like run, walk, play. Those are content words. Words that typically do not get stressed are function words. So, your function words, what are function words? Function words are words like prepositions. So, your prepositions are words, for instance, like in, on, above. Oftentimes, dealing with location, among other things. Also, words like articles. Articles are your words like and, the. Another example of a function word would be a pronoun. So, pronouns like I, you, they, her. Words like that. Okay, so we have content words and we have function words. Okay, and again, to demonstrate stress, we just go up in pitch a little bit. The thing that gets tricky though is again, when we have context, almost none of this matters because context makes something more important. And so it's going to change the word that we may want to stress in our sentence. Okay, so for instance, in this case here, we have the sentence, who do you think was the other driver? Who do you think was the other driver? Who do you think was the other driver? Let's imagine that we're doing this as a long thought group. One thought group. So who do you think was the other driver? So if I have this sentence and I have no context and I'm like, I don't know what to stress, your general guide is going to be stress the last major content word. So if you have a sentence and you don't know what to do with it, my suggestion for you is to stress whatever is the last major content word. Okay, so let's kind of look at this. So we have who, kind of act like a pronoun, probably not going to get stressed if we're going by our guideline. Do is a verb, could get stressed. You is a pronoun, probably not going to get stressed. Think, content word, verb, could get stressed. Was, content word, verb, could get stressed. The, function word, probably not going to get stressed. Other, function like an adjective, could get stressed. And then driver, last content word, it's a noun. Okay. One other thing I will say too, when it comes to content words, verbs very often don't receive stress. They can, they are content words, but very often they don't, because usually they're followed by nouns and things like that. Okay. So if I'm looking at this sentence, I'm like, I don't know what to stress. Well, the safest option would probably just be driver, because it's your last content word. So who do you think was the other driver? Who do you think was the other driver? Something like that. But there are other options. So just because driver is the most likely stress doesn't necessarily guarantee that it's going to be the stress. Okay, and it may change the meaning of the sentence. But if, again, I have no context, I would probably say, who do you think was the other driver? Notice that everything before the stress just goes down. Who do you think was the other driver? 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 Okay. But in theory, any word could get stressed in the right situation. Like, for instance, I could stress who. Like, who do you think was the other driver? Who do you think was the other driver? If I do that, I'm putting a lot of emphasis on, like, I want to know the person that you believe it was. Who do you think? The next one, I could stress do. Like, who do you think? Who do you think? So now I'm trying to understand, who do they actually think? I'm putting a lot of emphasis on who they actually believe the other driver was. Who do you think? I mean, yeah, who do you think was the other driver? If I stress you, who do you think was the other driver? Now I'm focusing on this person I'm talking to. I want to know their opinion. I'm putting a lot of emphasis on it. Who do you think was the other driver? Who do you think was the other driver? Again, putting a lot of emphasis, if I stress think, putting a lot of emphasis on trying to understand who they think the other driver was. Who do you think was the other driver? Who do you think was the other driver? Okay, again, kind of putting more emphasis on like the being, the entity of the other driver, like who was them. Again, not all these options are very likely. Anything's possible, but some things are more frequent than others, and some of these things are much less frequent. Like, for instance, the probably wouldn't get stressed in this situation, but you could, in theory, say, who do you think was the other driver? Who do you think was the other driver? If I stress other, who do you think was the other driver? Who do you think was the other driver? Now I'm really putting a lot of emphasis on not one driver, but the other one. I'm trying to show a big distinction between the two drivers. And then again, we have our normal one. Who do you think was the other driver? Who do you think was the other driver? Okay, so changing the stress can change the meaning of your sentence a little bit. And that's why context is so important, because changing the stress changes the context a little bit of what we say. Okay. So I would encourage you, if you're practicing stress, one thing that we do on the channel is we have a shadowing channel. It's on YouTube. So it's at Fluent American Shadowing. And on the shadowing channel, I show you native speakers talking. And I show you where the thought groups are. And I show you where the stressed words are. So if you were like, I don't know these differences, I want to start hearing them more, or things like that, well, I would encourage you to check out our shadowing channel, because it gives you lots of examples of native speakers talking. And it shows you where they're putting the stress themselves. So that way you can kind of start noticing these aspects of stress and applying it, copying it, trying to see if you sound like them when they're stressing different words. Okay. If you have other questions about stress, feel free to leave them in the chat and the comments. I do have to run, guys, but hey, thanks for hanging out with me today. There's a lot of pronunciation resources out there. I'm very much aware of that. So the fact that you spent some time here with me talking about stress in American English is greatly appreciated. Once more, my name is Jeff. It rhymes with breath. That's one of the 4 keys to a natural sound in American English, including placement, pitch, breath. Trying to weaken your consonant sounds, strengthen your vowel sounds. I will see you all later. I hope you guys have a good day, have a good night, and a good afternoon. You guys take care.